Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here for Married at First Sight, y'all. We are on season 18. We are still in the windy city of Chicago. And we are on episode 5. Yes, we are. And y'all, I am retitling this episode Rude AF because we are dealing with a rude AF. I want to call her a woman, but I also want to call her a B. I want to call her the B name. Shoot, Carla was on the after party this episode, and she wanted to call her the same thing. So, hey, I'm in good company. I'm really in good company. But we're going to hop right into it because there was a lot that went on this episode that we got to talk about. We got a couple of spoilers that came in the after party, so I'll warn you guys before I say it on this video to cover your ears if you don't want to hear it. It wasn't an all the way spoiler, but it was so much of a revealing of some information that you could figure out a few things. Let me just say that. But first off, let us go ahead and talk about my favorite couple, which is Camille and Thomas. They still my favorite couple, y'all. They may be boring though. They kind of boring. They are absolutely kind of boring, but they are right for each other. They're right for that. They're kind of like two boring people that are right for each other. And that's all we really want. All we really want on this show is a match. At least I do. All I want on this show is a match. And if I got to get two boring people together for a match, then I'm all for it. And we started to figure out a little bit about Camille and Thomas together. One thing I done figured out, they both got something going on. They make a perfect couple, y'all. Because last week we talked about how Thomas has like an upside down frown, his face. I told him he needs to go get some Restylane or some Botox to try to turn that mustache up or something. Turn that frown into a smile because I know he's smiling on the inside. This episode, I couldn't help but notice that Camille got a funny way of talking too. She don't really open her mouth when she talks. Y'all notice she kind of talked through her teeth. Her teeth stay clenched. And she kind of talks through her teeth. I'm just like, wow, these two are perfect. They are perfect for each other. I can't wait to see their kids. I don't know what's going to be going on. But I'm about to tell you the spoiler. So here, cover your ears. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So anyway, the spoiler is that, hey, when Carla was on the after party this episode, not Carla, MM was on the after party this episode. She says, oh yeah, Camille and Thomas, they kind of bicker a lot. And she said, yeah, I just had lunch or breakfast with Camille and Thomas. She had breakfast with Camille and Thomas. Camille and Thomas must still be together. And she said, I had breakfast. She didn't say she and KG had breakfast. So I don't know about she and KG because, of course, she would just say I. But she revealed the fact that just before the taping of the after party, she was having breakfast with Camille and Thomas. So I don't know. Unless they broke up and they good friends. But anyway. So there you go. Come on back, y'all. Come on back. Those of you who turn the volume down for the spoiler. But we got Camille and Thomas. But one thing else I'm figuring about Camille is she likes to lead. She likes to lead. I mean, one of the things I like to do with these couples is they've all come here to talk about they've had a hard time dating. And I always kind of wonder, because I wonder what were their problems dating. And Camille, I think she's a great catch. I think she's a wonderful woman. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's intelligent. I mean, there's so many great things about Camille. And I think I'm starting to get a little glimpse of some things about Camille. I think Camille might be a little bit of a control freak, just a little bit. I think she's trying to shed it though. I see the makings of a woman who maybe used to be more of a control person, but is trying to let go a little bit more. And so you see remnants of it. So that I'm happy for her. But they got out and they were on that little canoe boat, or not the canoe boat, it was the rowboat. She was trying to take charge. She said, hey, do you want me to lead? Do you want to be you sit back here, you be the power in the back, you do this. She's giving orders. She's a leader. And I think later on, she starts to try to hint to Thomas that she wants Thomas to be more of a leader. Well, girl, listen, folks, when you are a strong person and you're a leader in yourself, and you say you want your mate to be more of a leader, the first thing you got to do is step back. A lot of people think, well, I'm a leader, so then I want the other person to be a leader too, but I want them to be more of a leader than me and lord over me. Actually, what you have to do is you got to step back and you got to make room for their leadership. Because a lot of people don't want to crawl over you to be the leader. They don't want to overshout you. They don't want to overtalk you. They don't want to muscle you out of the way to be the leader of you. So oftentimes when you want to be a leader, or you want your man to be a leader or whoever, you also got to step back, leave some gaps, and let him step into that role. You don't have to orchestrate everything. So I already see Camille orchestrating a lot with Thomas, but then also getting a bit frustrated that maybe he's not leading as much. You got to do both. You got to ask them to lead, and then leave the space there and not feel the urge to jump in and take back the reins when you feel as if they're not doing it, because they'll never learn if you always fill in the gap. So she says that she makes a lot of decisions at work. That's what Camille says. She says, I make a lot of decisions at work, but she doesn't want to have to make recreational decisions when she gets home. So what she's saying is, listen, I'm at work. I'm maybe a boss. I'm in charge. I make lots of decisions. When I get home, I don't really want to make a lot of decisions. I feel you. I feel you very much, Camille. There's a lot of people like that, including myself. I make decisions at work, and when I come home, I don't like to make a lot of decisions. So she says she's going to want Thomas to step up a little bit more. And Thomas is still trying to feel her out. Thomas is still trying to figure out, I don't really want to spook this woman. I don't want to go too fast, because I think Thomas is really, really, really feeling Camille. And he does need to step it up a bit, but he's tiptoeing around it, very, 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 very cautious. And he said, that's great. He says, you know what? He's going to want to step into that role. They end up going out to dinner. They have a good dinner date. And he says, this is what he wants. He says, do you like to go out a lot, Camille? She says, I do. She want to go out at least once a week to dinner. And girl, that could get costly once a week. Unless you just going to like little small places that don't cost a lot of money. But if you're going out once a week and you spending $200 on a dinner, then that could get costly. So maybe they just mean anywhere. They ain't got to be going to no 5-star Michelin restaurant. So I'm with that. I think I should say this. It doesn't have to be go out to dinner. It could be let's do one activity a week. Sometimes you don't spend all your money on food. Sometimes maybe you spend your money on doing something active like miniature golf or going to play some pool, billiards. I don't know what people like to do. But I think the important thing is to spend time together. It's gotten to a point now where food, although I consider myself a foodie, food is so expensive, right? Sometimes it's better just to do an activity. Go play some pickleball. I don't know. Do young people play pickleball like the older people? Go play, I don't know, go to Top Golf. Go do something else. Sometimes that's cheaper than spending $200 on a fancy meal that you're going to be done with. And it's not really, I don't know. I think people got to get more creative in their marriages. But they had a good dinner. And I think this dinner gave them an opportunity to sort of share their story. And we heard an interesting story from Thomas. Thomas was saying that, he and his twin brother were adopted, which we knew that. And that he had 4 older siblings, and he also had a younger brother. So he comes from a big family. And he's saying that the way that he learned about being adopted was when the story he told was his mom posted something on social media saying, oh, this is twin day, and this was the day we adopted twins. And Thomas is saying that's the first time he and his brother knew they were adopted. So when I heard this story, I was thinking, oh, that's so horrible. Why would the mother announce that on social media as a way to them finding out that they were adopted? And Thomas says he was so hurt, and he went to his father and said, hey, is this true? Are we adopted? And the father said, yeah. And the father told him, it was the truth. On the after party, he revealed a little bit more of the story, which made me feel better about the story. He said that when he was saying about his mom announced it on social media, what he explained was that his father had a first wife. And the first wife is the one that adopted Thomas and his brother in the marriage with her and the father. But Thomas's father broke up with that woman. They got a divorce. So most of Thomas's life, he thought that that woman was his birth mother because that was the woman that he knew he was first born into that family. This is what he's thinking. He was born into that family. However, Thomas's father got remarried, and there's a different woman, the woman we saw on the preview on the show. She's the woman that actually raised Thomas. So when you start to think about Thomas's really complicated life, there were a lot of people who lied to Thomas, because think about it. Thomas was born into a family with existing children. He had 4 older siblings, and he also had a younger sibling, which means when these boys were adopted into the family, the 4 older siblings knew that Thomas and his brother were adopted. And they didn't even tell Thomas and the brother. So not only did the parents keep it a secret, the original mother, the original adoptive mother also kept it a secret. The siblings did. And so what Thomas said is trust has been very hard for him. And he was talking about on the after party. It was very sad to listen to. He says you start to question everything about your life, which I could see, because you can start to say to yourself, wow, there are a lot of people who held this life for a very long time. You know, his dad died shortly after, saying, yeah, you were adopted. And he said his dad said the reason why he was afraid to tell Thomas and his brother was because he didn't want Thomas and his brother to not love him or not feel as if he loved them. And that was sort of like the last days of his time with his father. And everybody was choked up on the after party, including because she was on the after party. But what a story of, being not only abandoned by your mother, then having an adoptive mother, which the marriage didn't work. So then you were sort of abandoned by her in some way, because it sounds like she didn't even know that Thomas didn't know he was adopted, because she's posting on social media. And then to be lied to by a lot of people in your life. Wow. So, we know that Thomas went to therapy, which I think is a wonderful thing, because there's got to be a lot there. And Camille's got to know that that type of hurt and pain and trauma just doesn't go away. It's going to absolutely reveal itself in their marriage, more likely in the area of trust, being able to share your emotions, feeling safe and secure. That's going to reveal itself in the marriage. So she's going to have work to do in that area. And I mean, that's really what a lot of marriage is about. I know people want everybody to come to marriage whole and no trauma, but it's just not the way the world works. We all got trauma for our childhood. Some of us got trauma from our adulthood. And when you pair up with someone else, you're going to bring that to a marriage. Now, what you hope for is that you've worked through some of it before marriage. But the other thing that if you haven't, what you hope for is that you're aware of it. And so if there's triggers in your marriage, you kind of know that, hey, it's really not my spouse's fault that I'm being triggered like this. This is really coming from my childhood. So awareness is important. It really is important. And then Camille shared a little bit of her own story. She said, her parents were separated at 10 years old. And then now I guess I see where I get a little bit of the inklings of the bossiness. And she was saying that she felt like she had to always pull it together. She felt like she had to always have everything put together. And, Thomas is really feeling her. He's like, you're kind, you're nurturing, you're not judgmental. These are all things that he likes. And remember, we were told by Thomas's brother that one of the things Thomas can't really handle is harsh criticism. That when you do talk to him and you want to give any sort of constructive criticism, you're going to have to be gentle and kind. And so I believe that Camille is the right person for the job, And, they had a cute little moment by the beach. And Thomas said, I've always dreamt of being in the rain by the beach, kissing my wife. And it was in that moment we got to see them share a little bit of a peck, a little bit of a smack. But at this time, like going for a little bit longer, lock them lips a little bit longer, shoot. Slip in some tongue, Camille and Thomas. Let's heat this up a little bit. Y'all kind of on the frigid. Well, you're not frigid, but shoot, we need to turn on the heater. That's for sure. We definitely need to turn on the heater. But Thomas is trying to say he's trying to loosen up. He said he can't see that he's a little bit too reserved. And he says he's kind of reverting back to being that shy little boy when he was in grade school. And I think that's because he wants it to work so badly. He's afraid to make a mistake. Remember, one of the things I said about Thomas, which is why I felt he didn't get married all these years, was not because I didn't think that he would make a good husband. I felt that he was a little bit afraid and timid to make mistakes. And here you have him again, taking it real slow with Camille, being afraid to make a mistake with her, not trying to mess it up as his brother said, right? And as a result of being so slow and being so timid, I think that in of itself and being so cautious, that in itself can cause a problem, which I think is why it caused a problem in his 9-year relationship where he ended up, breaking up with that woman. Because when you're overly cautious all the time, it can irritate a person. It can really irritate a person. So hopefully he starts to feel more comfortable and he starts to be a little bit more assertive in the relationship because Camille wants it. She absolutely wants it. She said, you know what? If he wants to come around and smack me on my ass, I won't be mad. I love it. And in fact, they played that little part on the after party for Thomas to hear it. And he was delighted to hear it, that Camille even said that. Yeah, he was delighted to hear that. And then Eminem was telling the story, like I said, that, when she was talking to Camille, she was telling Eminem, tell Thomas how much better he is to have a woman in his life. Camille is over here saying, tell him, Eminem, tell him how much better it is to have a woman in his life and how a woman makes your life better. Okay, Camille. Camille says, I'm gonna be the one to keep it spicy up here in this relationship. So I think she lucked up and got the type of personality that she needed to go with hers, because I think Camille is definitely more assertive maybe than Thomas is. And as a result, the balance between the two, I think, is a good match. So overall, they are still my favorite couple, really are still my favorite couple. But I'm going to tell you what, y'all, as we move on to the next couple, Camille and Thomas may be my favorite couple, but you guys want to know who my favorite girl is? Carla. Carla's my favorite girl. I know some of y'all going to be mad at me saying Carla's my favorite girl. Carla is my favorite girl. Of all the ladies, I'm going to tell you what, unless she changes something after this, Carla to me is the most real person on this show. And she is the one that knows herself the best. That's what I'm looking at with Carla. I'm really, really feeling Carla. Carla was also on the after party, and I was feeling her even more. The way she was telling David, we're gonna get to them. The way she was telling David, the way he should have handled Michelle. I was right there with her too. Right there with her. Let me tell you something about Carla. People may not like the things that Carla says, but Carla be speaking the truth. Carla speaks the truth. I got a whiff of it last episode when they started talking about the money, and Carla said, hey, the whole 50-50 thing. And Carla was saying, I don't know. I'm not really for the 50-50 because I don't know how you like to spend your money. And if you don't like to spend your money the way I like to spend my money, then I may not want to go 50-50 on things, right? So now you start to hear little rumblings of Carla talking about, Juan gonna get up here and talk about he don't want to go on no vacations. And Carla loves vacations. On the after party, Carla was talking about how she goes to Europe a lot. Okay? A lot. And Juan down over here talking about he don't want to go on no vacations. So Carla's thinking, well, you want me to pay what, 50-50 of a rent and a mortgage, and you may want to have a large mortgage, but then when it comes to vacation, you don't want to spend no money on vacation, so I got to pay for the whole vacation? No, I'm with Carla. I'm team Carla right now, all the way. And Carla was talking a lot of stuff. So first of all, they start off talking about let's talk finances, because we already know that money gonna be an issue with Carla. And what they're trying to paint Carla is as like a gold digger. I don't think she is. They're trying to paint Carla as a person who wants to just be taken care of. I don't think Carla's that person. Carla made it very clear on the after party. She said, listen, I came from humble beginnings. She said, I've been working since I'm 16 years old. I got 3 jobs. I'm an entrepreneur. So no, I know the value of hard work, but I also know the value of what I don't outsize money in my life. I right size money. I'm not going to be a person out here chasing money at the cost of my soul. This is who I think Carla is. And this is why I'm telling you, Carla is my favorite person right now. She says she likes to travel. And what this man said, Juan, was, well, you know what, I'm an entrepreneur right now. And so therefore, if you like to travel, you may have to go on your own. What? So you want me to split these bills 50-50, but you want me to go on vacations by myself and have to pay for my vacations by myself? You don't want to go 50-50 on that? I told you, Juan is selfish. Juan is selfish. He go on to talk about, he basically got an app business that ain't making no money, and that's a money pit. In more ways than one, basically what Juan is telling us is that he's got a 9-to-5 job. And that 9-to-5 job, all the money he makes from his 9-to-5 job has to be sunk into his app business, because his app business is a money pit and it's not profitable yet. And he's got a payroll that sometimes he's got to pay $10,000 out a month, which means his app business at the most is breaking even, or it's a money pit. So what he's saying is, you know what, I got a 9-to-5 and I maybe make good money as his salesperson, but whatever extra money I have, I can't really spend it on you, Carla. What I need, taking you on vacations or doing anything, or buying you a juice at Juice It Up or Jamba Juice. What I got to do is I got to use all that money for my ad business. Juan shouldn't have got married. He shouldn't have got married, because marriage is an investment. It's a financial investment. It's an emotional investment. It's a mental investment. And I'm not saying you got to be rich to get married, but you do have to be willing to spend some of your money in the marriage. And what I'm hearing for Juan is that, hey, I want to get married, but I don't want to have to spend no extra money in the marriage. Maybe the reason why he came on Married at First Sight was to get a free wedding. Because I haven't really heard Juan say how he wants to spend any money in the marriage. You know, they're trying to act like Carla is asking him to take care of her. And that's not what she's asking. She just said this. She says she wants a man who would desire to take care of her. She says, I don't need you to take care of me, because I've been working since I was 16. I know how to make money. And like she said, she does not have an unhealthy relationship with money. She says, but I would want a man who would desire it, who would aspire to it. You see what I'm saying? That's what Carla is saying. And what woman doesn't want a man who would at least want to aspire to that? He may never make it. He may never do it. He may never get to a point where you could be a stay-at-home mom and he pays all the bills. But wouldn't you want a man who says that if I could give it to you, I would? And what Juan has told Carla is, even if I could give it to you, even if my app business makes it big, I'm still not going to give it to you. That's a whole nother level, y'all. So y'all, you know what? I'm done with bald-headed Juan, and I'm Team Carla. I'm Team Carla. And Carla says she's responsible. And she says, hey, if you don't want to travel with me and I have to go travel on my own by myself, she's saying she's going to do it because she does it now anyway. She does it now anyway. And him running around talking about, I can't take care of you. That's fine. You can't take care of me. Carla even said on the after party, I understand the world of entrepreneurship. I know that money is up and down being an entrepreneur. She already told us she does 3 jobs. She knows that entrepreneurship is not steady. But that's the other part. I think it's very hard to have 2 entrepreneurs in a family. I do. Because I think that when you have 2 people whose money can be up and down, it kind of adds a little bit too much volatility to the relationship. Now, maybe it works out after you've been married a long time and you can build upon that. But when you're just starting off and you're combining 2 entrepreneurs together at one time, I think it adds an extra layer of difficulty for the marriage, especially surrounding finances, because both people are trying to grow their businesses. And as a result, the way they spend money, use money can get a little funny. It can get funny. And you kind of need one person to be a little bit steadier in the relationship. And I also know that's their role. So I think that these 2 have an uphill battle. And I'm not Team Carla and Juan. What would be their name? Juanarla. I don't know how their combo name would be. Quan instead of Juan, Quan. I don't know. But anyway, it ain't gonna work out anyway. I don't think it's gonna work out. I don't think it's gonna work out. I mean, they seem like they're having fun together. They had a nice little moment on the boat where their boat capsized, and as Carla says, it's never a dull moment with Juan. He liked the spotlight. He likes the attention, that's for sure. And I think that there's physical attraction between the two. I think Juan is absolutely attracted to her physically, but I think where Juan is going to maybe start to lose a bit of interest in Carla is because I think Carla makes too much sense for Juan. I do. I think the things that Carla talks about makes too much sense to Juan. And let me tell you, when Carla was on that bus and she was talking all that stuff about be careful who you let come inside of you or you go inside of, and it's an exchanging of energy, she might have said it in some weird way, but what Carla was talking about was the absolute truth. There was nothing wrong or incorrect about what she was saying. Everything that she was talking about was the truth. And in fact, when it was brought up on the after party, and the after party, Allan was on the after party, they said, what did you think about what Carla was saying on the bus? And Allan sat there and laughed and said, you know what? It was funny when she was saying it, but everything she said was the truth. There you go. There you go, Allan. Everything was the truth. And, Keisha and I Pulliam talked to Carla a little bit and saying, hey, have you had moments in your life where people negatively stereotype you as being the person who wants to be taken care of because, you're a beautiful woman and this and that? And I think Carla presents herself as a very feminine woman. And Carla said, you know what? I don't know because I really don't pay attention to how people think about me. You know what? I'm telling you, I am with Carla. I'm all the way with Carla. And like I said, when she was on that bus and she was talking about, the magic wand and how, you got to be careful where you stick here and where you stick there. Everybody was on that bus laughing and kikiing, having a good time and grasping their pearls at what Carla was talking about. But what she was talking about was the truth. And to be honest with you, I think she's a little bit too deep for Juan. I think Juan is very superficial. I know a lot of people thought Carla was going to be the superficial one. But honestly, I think Juan is the superficial one and Carla's actually the deeper person. She's the deeper person. Carla says she is a vessel and you got to be careful about which magic wand you let come into your vessel because that's putting energy inside of you. That's putting energy inside of you. And I think Carla's going to pick up real soon that Juan's energy ain't all that great. Because then they started talking about things like around the house. Like he was like, well, how would you feel if I left dirty dishes in the sink? Would you wash them for me? And I think what Juan was hoping for was for Carla to say I would wash them. And what Carla said to him was, you know what, I may wash them the first or second time, but after that, I probably would tell you you need to wash the dishes. And I looked at Juan's facial expression and he didn't like it. He didn't like the answer. Like I said, Juan is the type of person where he wants to receive a lot from a person, grace and 50-50, but he don't really want to give nothing. And so when Carla was talking all that stuff about her body being a vessel and that the fact of the matter is, you know what, it's just not about you letting you impart your energy on me. Juan said on the bus, he's listening to everything she's saying. And he often said that he was the type of guy that rushed into sex real soon. And he was saying that he wants to take it slow because what he's saying is, hey, I want to be in love before I have sex. I think Carla is telling him something in the background. I think Carla is the one telling him, listen, I do want intimacy with you. I do want to know you better. They went and had these couple massages. And Carla is saying she's ready for more intimacy. And here you have Juan over here saying where he wants to be in love before he has sex with Carla. Shoot, maybe they're not even going to have sex, y'all. I don't think they're going to make it. They may not even have sex. Because I think Juan is already starting to realize that Carla has some thoughts about things that she thinks a little bit more deeply about acts than he does. And it was interesting because he says, he's really feeling Carla right now because he feels like she's very easygoing. She's free flowing. And he said I just hope it stays that way. I hope it doesn't change. And that kind of what he's saying is that, hey, he's used to women being real nice in the beginning, but then after a while they get a little bitchy on him. And what he's saying is, I'm hoping that's not going to be you because right now I'm feeling you, Carla. It's nice and flowing. We're having a good time. Even though we capsized on this boat, we were able to laugh and have a good time. And what he's saying is, I just hope the energy stays the same and you don't change. Well, why would it change, Juan? Why would it change? Why would a woman who's happy with you in the beginning, why all of a sudden would she become not so happy later on? Because what I think is going to start happening is, Juan, you become a different person. I think the more of you starts coming out, and I'm telling you, I think Juan is a selfish person. I'm seeing a lot of signs of it. And as we switch on over to another couple, EKG and MM was on the after party too this time. She was on there. She was on the episode with Thomas, and Madison. They were all on the same after party. And I tell you, MM's facial expression, she got a little bit of resting bitch face, RBF. I ain't gonna lie, MM got a little bit of resting bitch face. And it's hard to sometimes think, is she sniffing out the bull crap in EKG like we are, and she's just playing along? Because sometimes EKG says things and I feel like MM caught up on it, because her facial expression, I tell you, it looks like she want to say something different than what comes out her mouth. And another part of me is she just such a positive person? She wants to keep it positive all the time, even though she's lying to herself. Because we still ain't seen MM and EKG even share a pet kiss. Nothing. There's a whole lot of words being exchanged, a whole lot of poetry, spoken word, bars from a song, lyrics, but there's no physical touch, kissing. Everybody thinks EKG and MM are the front runner couple right now. Everybody thinks they're so locked and loaded. But have we seen a kiss from them? I have not. Besides the kiss on the wedding day at the altar, have we seen one? I haven't. EKG over here asking questions like, when did you start dating? What do you mean? Back when I was in, high school? What kind of question is this, EKG? Anyway, I almost feel sometimes if EKG asks questions so that he could tell his own stories. Because like I said, EKG is the type of person where he creates moments to be able to tell his own stories. I'm going to say it again. EKG asks questions so really he could tell his own stories. So he started asking her, like, when did you start dating? And MM says, I was busy in high school. I didn't start dating till later in high school because I was doing sports. She was in the academics and doing all kind of stuff. And EKG said, well, when I was in high school, I got kicked out of the house with my dad at 16 years old. And he and his father must have butted heads, he said. So he got kicked out, was living with friends. And so eventually his mama said, come on back home to Houston and live here. You don't need to be living with friends. You need to be living here with me. So he was kicked out by his daddy and ended up going home and living with the mom. He said that's what kind of prompted him to become a educator, because he felt he was somewhat of could have been a wayward child. It was a time when he could have been a wayward child. He thought, he found his way out of the hood and he wanted to be that person to school kids. I thought that was an admirable story that he wanted to tell. I know it's a story he wanted to tell because I'm telling you, all of EKG's moments are curated. They're just all curated. He sets them up from that man singing. Everything about EKG is curated. And I don't know if MM is figuring it out, but she definitely got some RBF going on. She tells us that her family wasn't an emotional family, that she comes from a traditional Nigerian family. And in a traditional Nigerian family, and in that Nigerian family, she says that there weren't a lot of emotions and I love yous. And in fact, the first time she really heard her father say that he loved her was literally when her father was on his deathbed. So that's why she always cries about it. And she was saying on the after party, they were asking her about, well, how do you feel about, giving love, receiving love? And she's saying she knew her parents loved her because her parents show love the way that a lot of African families do. These are her words, not my words. And she was saying they show love by providing for her, giving her experience, or elevating her lifestyle and doing things like that. And that's the way they show love. But was there a lot of tenderness? Were there a lot of hugs? Were there a lot of kisses? Were there a lot of that? And there wasn't. So that's why I could kind of see how EKG is kind of falling. I don't want to say it's victim. I can see how she's believing EKG, because if she grew up in a family where there were not a lot of words to say I love you, Now, all of a sudden, when she's hearing them from EKG, she could really love what she's hearing from him because it is great. But the problem is there's no substance behind EKG's words. Like, I think what she's going to find out about EKG is EKG is the opposite of her parents. Her parents may not have had the words, but what her parents had were the parents had the actions. They were there to take care of her. They invested in her. She was their priority. So in some ways, the parents may not have the words, but if you look at what their actions were, all of their actions probably spoke love. But when you have EKG, I think what she might find out is that KG has a lot of words. But are there going to be any actions behind his words? Or are his words going to just be a lot of empty words? Because I'm still waiting for EKG to kiss MM. All these words of I love you, or not I love you, but how wonderful you are and all this. Why isn't there a kiss on the forehead, a kiss on the lips, a kiss on the hand? In fact, it's worse than that, y'all. This man called MM his homie. His homie. And she was right to like back up and go, what? How does the word homie come anywhere into the equation of describing me, EKG? And he tried to clean it up. He tried to clean it up just like you try to clean up your lines when, you misspoke your rehearsed lines too much. He said, yeah, don't you think friendship is the foundation of any relationship? That's two different things. Calling someone, saying friendship is the foundation of a relationship versus you're my homie. It's way too soon to describe somebody. I don't even think my husband would call me his homie today. He often says I'm his best friend, but his homie? I don't know. That's a whole nother level. Homie, best friends still signify to me, I want to hug you. I want to wrap my arms around. Give me a friend, my best friend, my best friend. Homie is more like high five, pound. That's homie. And for a man who puts so much emphasis on words, this is why I know it was really a Freudian slip of the tongue, because a man who puts so much emphasis on words, EKG, who's all into poetry and spoken word and lyrics to a song, he didn't accidentally choose the word homie. Those are his true feelings. She's the homie, all right. She absolutely is a homie. He's trying to clean it up, but it's too late. It's really too late. A man who is so curated with his words uses the word homie. Nah, he meant that. He meant that stuff. And so as she's kind of taken aback from it, she can't get over it. He says, don't dwell on it. Don't dwell over it. Yeah, you want her to overlook it real fast. You want her to move on real fast. I hope MM is seeing these red flags waving. I really do. I really hope she's seeing these red flags waving. He trying to clean up, talking about, I really like you. And no, you're more than a homie to me. I really like you because at least you know how to pronounce my name. What? He's over here talking about the reason why I like you is because all my life I've had it. It's been difficult for people to pronounce my name, EKG. And the one thing I liked about you is because you're Ibu, you already know kind of how to pronounce my name. So that endeared me to you already. This is superficial stuff. Just like him, he's superficial. He occasionally try to act like he's deep, but he's really superficial. And then, he's like, well, what gives you peace? And she's like, the fact that she can effectively communicate with him and that he listens to her thoughts. And he says, oh, yeah, I listen to you. I can read your facial expressions, too. He didn't want to call it RBF, but that's what it is, EKG. It is some RBF going on. It'd be saying a lot and not in a good way. It'd be saying a lot, not in a good way. And he's like, yeah, if you want anything from me, I'm here for you. How about a kiss? How about you give me a kiss? Can you give me that, EKG? If you really feeling me like this, can you give me a kiss? Nah, he ain't leaning there for nothing. Nothing. But on the after party, MM says she was shocked to see those clips of David and Michelle and the rude stuff Michelle was saying to David. And that's how we're going to segue in over here to talk about the rude AF Michelle and David. Now, we got a lot to parse between this couple, y'all. First of all, in one way, I want to go back and talk a little bit about David in the basement dwelling. I know folks don't want to talk about it anymore, but I did read a lot of my comments and I heard what people were saying about what's wrong with David living in his parents' basement apartment. So before I get to the new stuff, I really want to clear up at least my perspective on David living in the apartment by his mother. First of all, what I believe about David and someone living at home with their parents, I actually don't have a problem with young people moving home with their parents. I did it when I got out of college. When I got out of college, I moved home with my parents. I lived with my parents for another 2 to 3 years out of college, and I saved money. And after I saved money, guess what? I moved out and I bought a condo. My first time buying a property. I bought my first piece of property at 27 years old. That's what it looked like. So I understand the value of being able to move home, save money, and move out. But the other thing I want to say is I was in my 20s when I did that. David's 36 years old. There's quite a bit difference with a 20-something-year-old person, son, daughter, living at home with their parents, even in a basement apartment. And I even know that it's the only part I gave David a little bit of a pass on, that it is sort of like a separate apartment downstairs that he lives in, right? It is sort of a separate apartment. So that part I gave him the pass on. I also gave him a little pass because he said he is paying some money in rent. I'm sure he's not paying market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Chicago. I'm sure his parents could get a whole lot more money for that apartment, but he's saying he's paying something. What is he paying? I have no idea what he's paying. Is it market rent? Probably not. So I don't really have a problem with a person living at home with their parents when they're in their 20s and they're starting their life. I do have a problem with it when you start to get up into the age range that David is in, 36, 40 years old. And I know a lot of people are going to say, what's wrong with it? A lot of cultures do it. I'm going to tell you something else about a lot of other cultures. A lot of other cultures put a lot of pressure on people who are at home to get married. It's a cornerstone in that tradition. You could live at home until you get married. That's what they do. But in that living in a home until you get married, guess what those parents are doing? They're actually putting pressure on the kids to get married. You don't get both. Even in like traditional other families, if you're at home living with your parents, they're also out looking for a mate for you. Those African mothers and African fathers are trying to find that son a bride. They're trying to find that girl a husband. They're not just reconciling the fact that you're going to be a 36, 40-year-old person living at home in their basement apartment. That's not what other cultures do. Absolutely not. They put pressure on their children to get married. But so when I want to hear, I don't want to say that Americans can be like other type of cultures, because what David is trying to do is he's trying to have the best of both worlds. He's trying to have the world in which other cultures let you live at home until you get married, but then he ain't going out and finding a bride. No, that's not the same thing. And let me be clear, David is living in the basement apartment because what we find out is he had a business that he ran, which was a bar. And as we know, bars and restaurants lose a lot of money. More than likely, David lost a lot of money in his business as a bar owner. Okay, his bar went belly up. Just like he said before, he was living upstairs in his bar. David probably owned a bar. It went belly up. He lost all his money. It could have happened during COVID. Remember when all those bars shut down during COVID and all them bars closed? It could have happened during COVID. So what he did was he had to close his bar down. He had to move home with his parents because he was broke. That's fine, and rebuild money. And I'm not even saying that anything's wrong with his story, but then he needs to tell the real story. David is too busy over here trying to tell us that a 36-year-old man living at home in a basement apartment isn't a reason why you should have a pause for concern. It is. It is. He's not a 22, 23, 24-year-old man living at home. And we find out during this episode that David was dating a woman off and on for 19, did he say 19 years or 9 years? Was it 19 years or 9 years? Whichever it was, it's a long time. Yeah, I think he said a long time. I guess I'll find it somewhere later on in my notes. And so, as much as I'm about to dig into Rude AF Michelle, I want to be very, very clear, very, very clear, that as much as I'm going to root for David more because I actually feel more sorry for him than I feel for Michelle, I want to be very clear that David is not marriage material. Not marriage material. But I also want to make very, very clear that Michelle is rude AF. And the type of anger and venom that Michelle is bringing to David is out of control. It's ridiculous. And now I know why she's been single for 6 years. Like I said, you want to figure out why have all these people struggled in the dating world. And one of the things that I say that David has struggled in the dating world is because he doesn't want to come off as lazy or the guy in the basement apartment that eats Cheetos. But there is a part of David whereby he doesn't do stuff. Because, we're going to start talking about it as we go through the whole episode. But first of all, when they open up, start bringing them onto the screen, we see that David is out having breakfast or whatever by himself once again. He's really here on a solo trip because his wife is sleeping up in the room. Peace. Has Michelle even come out the room? David is over here recording by himself with his hair blowing in the wind. His curls is blowing in the wind, saying, I'm down here by myself, recording by myself. And the wife is upstairs sleeping peacefully. She ain't sleeping in no peace because she got inner turmoil. She's mean. She's rude. And it doesn't really matter that David is sleeping in the basement apartment because Michelle would have been mean no matter what. No matter what. I think she's just a rude, mean person, period, to her core. You can tell. Because even if David is who he is, even with all the things I just said about David, there is no way I would treat him this way. Absolutely not. Which tells me Michelle is just a horrible person. Horrible. He's wondering, does she have any interest in him? And she basically says, no, she don't have no interest in him. No interest at all. And she's running around talking about her walls are starting to come up. And she's on the phone with her friend talking about, you know what? I don't have any interest in him. My walls are already coming up and I'm getting moody and I'm being a brat. Girl, so you mean to tell me that you can't be nice and congenial to a person unless you like them, sexually? I'm cool with her not liking him the way he looks aesthetically or any other part of him. But you're telling me that once you don't like a person for any of those reasons, all of a sudden you're going to get moody and become a brat? Ugh. Her friend was trying to tell her, girl, you need to relax. You need to enjoy yourself. You're still in Mexico. You trying to tell me you can't go on a canoe ride with a person just because you're not feeling them sexually right now? You can't have a good time? No, because Michelle don't know how to have a good time, period. You can tell. I'm telling you, all those frowns. That's why I told David he should have never called her beautiful because she ain't beautiful and she ain't beautiful on the outside nor the inside. And all them wrinkles on her face at her young, tender age of 36 is probably because her face is always frowned up. It's always frowned up. Be careful of being a mean person when you're young because what happens is when you get older, those frowns become permanently implanted on your face. That's why Michelle looks so doggone old. She look way older than what she is. She only 36 years old. She look like she well into her 40s. For sure, for sure. Shoot, David is over here talking about you got your foot all up my butt, Michelle. But maybe I need to be asking some questions of you. Why are you not in a relationship? And she said, oh, because I dated for 3 years and it flatlined. That ain't no good answer. You going over here later on talking about how David got vague answers. That's a vague answer. I need to know more. What do you mean by flatline? What happened? I need to know the whole story. He probably left her. Don't nobody want to be with Michelle. Don't nobody want to be with Michelle. And, David over here trying to take advice on how to handle Michelle from Madison. Wrong advice. Who is Madison? I'm going to get to her too. Why is Madison giving marriage and dating advice and she ain't had no luck in dating nor marriage either? I don't like Madison either. And that advice that she was giving David was horrible, horrible advice. Oh, you need to come at Michelle harder, be more forceful. Absolutely not, Madison. What the hell are you talking about? We come to find out that was all projection. All projection. All Madison was doing was telling David what to do to Michelle because it's what she wants Allan to do to her, to be more forceful. Girl, go sit down, Madison, with your tight jaw. Between Madison and Michelle, they getting on my nerves, y'all. They are really getting on my nerves. But I can't let David off the hook completely because he got on here talking about, I guess I might as well go ahead and tell you that I got a tattoo of the lady that I dated for whatever, 9 or 19 years, whichever one it was. I got a tattoo on her, but I'm going to get it removed. You should have got it removed before you came on this show. You knew for darn near 4 or 5 months you was going to get married on Married at First Sight. You should have got it removed, David. Why didn't you get it removed? Because he's too busy living down in the basement apartment eating Cheetos. I'm telling you, that's some lazy stuff. So that's why in some way I can agree with some of the stuff Michelle is saying, because David over here talking about that can be our first date. Why the hell would I want to go on a first date with you to get the name of a woman removed off of your tattoo? You the one that came here on Married at First Sight. You should have done that before I got here. You know, these are red flags. They are red flags, but the way that Michelle is treating the red flags, that's what I'm not dealing. That's not what I'm cool with, Michelle. I'm cool with these are some red flags, but I'm not cool with the way you're treating him like he's the gum on the bottom of your shoe. I'm not with that. I'm not with belittling a person the way that she's doing it, you know. But yeah, David definitely got some laziness in him. You know what? I know people don't want to admit it because people going to hate Michelle so much. People going to want to try to give David a whole entire pass, but I'm not giving David an entire pass. Because listen, you would have showed up to me talking about we can go on a first date and getting that tattoo removed. No, what we can do is when we get back, it can be your first thing that you do. But I don't need to go with you. Why I need to be a part of that? I wasn't a part of it when you got it. And technically you should have done it before you even met me. Nah, he would have got told something differently too. But let me tell you, she was leaning into him in a rude kind of way. And she wasn't taking his excuses. And he said, well, let me ask you a question, point blank. Do you even find me physically attractive? And Michelle said, I'm really having a hard time finding anything about you attractive. Good Lord. I said, my mouth dropped, y'all. My mouth dropped. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. For real, Michelle? For real? And on that note, David said, let me go take a shower and put some moisturizer in these curls of mine because I got to get up from this couch. And he came back from the shower, was like, well, do you want to go get something to eat? You want to go eat afterwards or whatever else? He is really doing a lot and really being a nice, kind person. His patience is way better than mine. He's doing a whole song and dance, as she says. And she's still just being a bitch and bratty, telling him, you know what? I don't want to have nothing to do with you. I want my peace. I want you to stay out my hair. Don't text me. Don't call me. Don't even look my way. Don't breathe on me. Don't do nothing. Don't touch me. Nothing. Ugh! Can't stand her. He said, I'm just trying to get to know you. I'm just trying to get to know you as a person. You know, what's your family like? Because I'm a big family person. And she's like, why are you asking me these questions? In one way, she like, you don't ask no questions. But then when he does ask her a question, he says it's surfacey and it's whatever. She got a problem. She has a problem. He said, what's wrong with asking these questions? She's such a bitch. She is such a bitch. Nobody's feeling Michelle. I'm going to tell you right now, on the after party, MM said that she was rude. Carla said basically she would have called her a B. Allan don't like her. Don't nobody like Michelle. So more than likely, Michelle ain't even friends with the ladies. We already know they ain't going to make it. But she ain't even friends with the ladies because the ladies didn't hold back on her. They don't like her. Not one bit. He over here thinking that, you know... Poor David. He says, I think she's having a good time because I see her with the ladies and she's laughing and having a good time. But she says, yeah, I'm having a good time over there, but not with you. Rude AF. She's like, I'm having a good time over there, but I ain't having a good time with you. You know, he keeps going and he keeps trying. He said, do you want to eat? And she said, no, you need to take a chill pill. Dude, leave me alone. Don't check in on me. Like I said, don't check in on me. Don't look my way. Don't breathe on me. And she says, I don't even know why you not frustrated because I'm frustrated. Why are you so angry, Michelle? Just because you don't like a person? Why are you so angry? Michelle got so much anger in her and it don't have nothing to do with David. Let me tell you, David is not the one creating all this hate in Michelle. Michelle had all this hate in her before she got here. And, David's trying to talk to the guys. David's trying to go get advice from everyone. He tried to go get it from Madison. He's trying to get some advice from the fellas, and the fellas are trying to tell him, don't have a lot of expectations. Well, you know what expectation you can have is that a person treats you with dignity and respect. It treats and talks to you like a human being. And let me tell you, Michelle is doing none of that. So you absolutely should have some expectations that, hey, you don't have to like me. You don't have to be sexually attracted to me. But one thing you're going to do is you're going to respect me. You're not going to talk to me like I'm a dog on the street. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That was why I was happy in that moment when he finally did go back to her and he told her, you want some space? You can have your motherfucking space. I'm out of here. And he left. I was happy about that. And in that moment, guess what Michelle was sitting there doing with her mouth open? She was sitting there with her mouth open because she got handled in that moment. But where David lost it was he went over there, had a glass of water, and then came back and apologized to her. He shouldn't apologize to her. He should have left that right there where he left it. He should have left, because I think it was in that moment actually that Michelle respected him. I think she respected him. Remember, Michelle was the person who came on here saying that she wanted a black guy. And I said from the very beginning that I think Michelle wanted a black. I think these two were the opposite. I think David wanted a white blonde with blue eyes because he thought a white blonde with blue eyes would be more softer, demure, and feminine. That's what I think. And he wanted a woman who talked to him softly. I said that because what David was looking for was what he didn't get from his home and his Puerto Rican family. And he said that the women in his family, Puerto Rican women, were too bossy and too vocal. And that's why he don't want no Puerto Rican woman. That's why he wants a white blonde with blue eyes. He wanted a soft, kind woman like a Carla. That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. But what he got was he got a bitch face Michelle. And when Michelle said she wanted a black man, which is what she wanted, you know why she said she wanted a black man? Because there's this stereotype that black men are real tough. And what Michelle wanted was a black man to handle her because she got a mouth on her. She got a mouth on her. You see, what these two people were choosing for themselves, they were choosing people for themselves in their own dating world for what they wanted based on their own shortcomings. Michelle wanted a black man who could handle her lip. Because Michelle is rude AF and she got a lip. And what Michelle thinks about is, black women got lip out here. Black women talk a whole lot of mess. So black men are used to handling black women. And what Michelle is thinking is, I'm kind of like a black woman with a mouth on me. Girl, no. You ain't like me. You ain't like me one bit. You not one of me. What's that, Kendrick Lamar? You not like us. Is that what it's called? You not like us. She said the things she expected out of marriage was she wanted a man who was going to match her lifestyle, be successful, and teach her things. Well, did you want him to have a nasty attitude like yours too? Or how about that matching? Were you looking for that? I bet not, because your attitude is nasty. She says, you know what? I think we have different goals and we're just not compatible. And she said, so when I tell you I need a break, I'll let you know when I want you to come back. What? Girl, I might have thrown some water in her face. She says, I don't need you to check up on me so often. I need you to back off a little bit. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't call my name. Don't breathe on me. Don't even look in my freaking direction. And she said, in fact, when you do it, it irks me even more. It makes me more angry. Why are you so angry just because you're not attracted to a man? What has he done to you? Girl, no, you was angry when you stepped into Married at First Sight from the very beginning. From the very beginning. And she said, when I tell you I need a little bit of space, I'm not talking about an hour or two. I need the whole doggone day. I need you to just go away completely. He's like, okay, that's fine. I can go golfing for 4 hours. And then she says, why you keep interrupting me? Girl, you've been talking for 5 minutes, spitting this venom. So you think he should just have to sit here and listen to all this? You berating him back and forth, up and down, berating him like this and telling him don't interrupt you because you're not done berating him and talking down to him. She a whole fool. I'm telling you, I would have thrown a glass of water in her face. When he went over to the bar to get that glass of water, he should have brought it back and threw it in her face. Absolutely. She goes, stop interrupting me. You talk over me all the time. You talk at me. Girl, shut up. Don't nobody want to hear what you got to say. I don't like Michelle. Not at all. That's when he sat there and said, I'll give you your motherfucking space if you want some. I'll give you some space. And he walked away. That's where he should have left it. But instead he came back and told her that he was sorry he lost his composure. You should have never done that. You should have never done that. Then she starts crying, talking about she's a control freak. I know she is. She's a control freak. She's domineering. She's bossy. She's a whole lot of things. And she's talking about, yeah, that's who I am. When things get hard, I just leave. And I don't want to be that person anymore. Girl, you that and a whole lot of other things. David down there having dinner by himself, sleeping alone on the couch. They on a solo trip. They are on a solo trip at this point. Pretty soon, he going to have a whole nother place. She's like, this is pointless. She done gone to the producers. This is the first time I ever seen the producers come from behind the camera and get in front of the camera. They are now in front of the camera with this girl, Michelle, because Michelle and David barely want to film together. And the producer's trying to tell her, girl, don't you even want to try? She's like, I don't even want to try. This is pointless. He annoys me. How does he annoy you to this point? She goes, yeah, I know that he's a good guy, but everything about him annoys me. You just annoyed, period. That producer was trying to tell her, you need to get back in touch with the reason why you're here and why you want to be married in the first place. She goes, I don't even remember why I want to be married. She's so disjointed and just so discombobulated. She said she can't even remember why she wanted to get married in the first place. That's good, because you don't need to get married. You ain't ready for marriage. No one. Not no black man nor no white man. Forget about it, Michelle. Go on back home. Go on back home. She don't even know how to have fun. Ugh. Can't stand her. Michelle over here talking about this not the marriage she wanted. Well, good, because this ain't the marriage he wanted either. Wasn't the marriage that he wanted either. So, girl, go on back and find you another caramel colored black man, which you say that you want, because he can have you. He can have you, because let me tell you something. You not it, Michelle. You are not it. And the last person we got to talk about is Madison and Allan. Madison with the strong jaw. I'm going to talk about her too, because I'm not a fan of hers either. I think she's rude too. I think she's mean. I just think she tries to cover it up a little bit more. And she over here talking to David about her progression with Allan. She shouldn't have been doing that either. Why is she down in the gym working out with David, talking about her own marriage and her struggles with Allan? This is too soon. This is way too soon, because first of all, David and Allan should be bonding together as the man, and you over here trying to get David on your side to be about you. Girl, Madison and that strong jaw walking around like this. She may got some muscles. She may be toned. She may have not a lot of fat on her body, but let me tell you something. I ain't feeling it. I ain't feeling it, strong jaw Madison. I'm not feeling it at all. And like I said, that advice she gave David about Michelle was horrible, because come to find out, the only reason she gave is because it's what she wants from Allan. And, she sits over and says, well, how do you deal with conflict, Allan? And Allan says, I'm the type of person where I like to talk it out. And, when something goes wrong, I like to figure out what went wrong so we can correct it and not do it again. And then next thing you know, she's over here talking about how she thinks he's a pushover. How is he a pushover? Because he wants to do things nice for you? He wants to please you? Isn't that what you would want in a man? Nah, because what Madison wants are those jarhead workout men from the gym who treat her poorly. She likes to be treated poorly. And now here she has a man who's nice to her and kind to her and treats her nice, and she don't even know how to receive it. Keisha and I pulling and pegged her correctly. She over here criticizing Allan for being a pushover or treating her nicely, but she complained about how the men she used to go with treated her poorly and didn't even want to commit to her. Ugh. Like I said, why is a person who's so messed up like this giving somebody else advice and then telling David, you need to be harder with Michelle? What, because you want someone to be harder with you? Ugh. She said, you need to stop worrying about other people so much, Allan. You need to worry about yourself more, because that's more to come. That's how she gonna be. Remember that daddy, y'all. Remember the daddy when he jumped up on Allan at the little brunch and started saying about we need to see an STD test. Remember that? And I said, ooh, now we know where Madison got it from. Now we're seeing more of it. Now we're seeing more of it. She goes, well, I don't want you to think that you got to walk on eggshells with me. Well, that's what it's starting to feel like, Madison, that somebody got to walk around eggshells on you, or they're going to get called a pussy. Who ever heard of telling someone that you're a caregiver and making it sound really, really negative? She like, you're a caregiver, but you need to do things for yourself. You only know the man for 4 days. How do you know that he doesn't do things for himself? You only 4 days into a relationship. He should be wanting to please you. You should be happy that he's trying to be a caregiver for you. Carla was on the after party and she was like, you know what? I don't get Madison, because who wouldn't want a man doing the things for them that Allan is doing for Madison or trying to do for Madison? Carla, like I said, Carla's my favorite. She was the one on the after party saying, listen, you are a kind, sweet, caring man, and most women will be happy to be receiving the type of treatment you're giving them. In fact, to be honest with y'all, I almost feel like Carla and Allan would have made a better couple. I don't know if there's a physical attraction than that, because I think, but even if there could be, in terms of personality wise, I actually like Carla and Allan way better, because I think they put emphasis on the soul, They put emphasis on connection and how you treat people and how you interact with people. And I don't know. I'm liking. Like I said, I like Carla so far. I had a little bit of hesitancy to see her in the beginning, but what I'm seeing from her, I like her now. I don't like Madison at all, and I really like Allan. I really do like Allan. And she said, well, I hope you're going to become more assertive, because basically she's saying the attraction is not there right now. She's basically telling him the attraction is not there. On the after party, Allan revealed that he was aware that there wasn't a lot of attraction there. And in fact, Carla told another kind of interesting story that Madison had her own breakdown at around the wedding. She says that Madison, we know Michelle had a breakdown in the restroom, the bathroom, but Madison had another breakdown, and she was venting very early on that she didn't like Allan. And what Allan figured out was that she was basically faking it this whole time. He basically said that, which we know she is, that a lot of it was superficial, that she didn't like him from the very beginning. And when they were on the after party, Keisha Napoleon was telling Madison that, I really wish I could put a blindfold on you, because if you really just gave Allan a chance and took away the superficial look side of it, I really think that you guys could have been a really, really nice couple and done well together. And I'm going to tell Keisha Napoleon that's not true, because their hearts are very different. Because they're trying to say that it's just an attraction issue between Madison and Allan, but it's more than an attraction issue. It's also the way they treat people and the way they speak to each other. Madison comes from a family like that father, where they talk to people out the side of their mouths, and they think that this harshness is okay, and it's not. And Allan is saying that that's not the way he speaks to people. So it's actually more than an physical attraction issue. It's also the way they move in the world and how they treat people. And they're very, very different. So I know everyone's going to think, oh, Allan's such a nice guy, they could be a great couple if she got past the looks. No, they didn't, because even if she got past the looks, she would be just like Michelle, saying nasty things to Allan in other ways. Because it's about who you are as a person. And I can tell you right now, Madison, when I saw that father, I knew right away. When I saw that father and she heard what that father said, she didn't even apologize for her father. If my father had said something like that to a man I was married to, and I would say that he shouldn't have said that, I would have said to my spouse, I'm sorry my father said that to you. That wasn't the way that he should have said it. But when Madison's father said it to her, she was like, yeah, that sounds about right. That's what I like. That's when I knew. And now she's sitting over here saying the same thing to Allan. Basically, that Michelle is saying to David, I don't even want to hear you talk. Madison is saying, I'm tired of hearing you ramble. You ramble too much. Shut up. Be quiet. She's saying the same thing. She's just saying it a little bit different from Michelle, but she actually is just like Michelle. Just like Michelle. You know. And he says, well, if I had on watermelon shorts, would you walk down the street with me? This girl said, no. So you can't walk down the street with someone even though you don't approve of their outfit? Like I said, her spirit, her soul is different from Allan's. This is more than just a physical attraction. They're not even going to be attracted to each other spiritually. Their cores are not going to be drawn to each other. Two different people. Allan said he wants to be vulnerable. He wants to be able to let loose and show her this side, but she just told you she wants you to be tougher. So how are you going to be able to show your vulnerability side or vulnerable side when she's over here telling you to be assertive and tough and not show that? She don't want to see that. None of that. She wants a man that's in the gym, that's hard on the outside, a rock hard body, and a rock hard body on the inside, because that's what she is. She's rock hard on the outside and she's rock hard on the inside. And that's what she wants in a man too. That's what he wants in a man too. They're not going to make it. They have zero chemistry. And like I said, they're not attracted physically, emotionally, spiritually, nothing. There's nothing here tying these two together. And I'm not even sure why they were put together. I don't know why the experts couldn't sift out that Madison's issues in terms of attraction were all superficial. All very, very superficial. And, you know, Keisha and I pulled and pegged it right about her in that one of the things she was doing when she was projecting onto David was that she's used to dating mean, tough men. And she don't really know how to be loved. Her father is tough and mean. I know he said all other kind of stuff about her, but the type of love that Madison is used to receiving, she ends up getting burned by that same type of love. But she ain't figured it out yet. So, thumbs down on this couple too. They ain't gonna make it. They're not gonna make it at all. Oh well. Oh well. Anyway, that's it, y'all. That's all I got for Married at First Sight. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.